Motion.
From August 8th. Marie makes a motion. Seconds. All in favor? Aye. Good morning.
Good
How are you?
morning. I am well.
If you want to just tell us your name and where you live.
I'm Paris, Montgomery.
Okay.
I'm the new homeowner at 13 Brown Street,
Okay.
Binghamton.
Yep.
What else do you need to know?
Let us know what your concern is for
Well,
on Brown Street.
I submitted some paperwork regarding my wanting to have an additional driveway on the left side of the house. So there's an
Okay.
issue with that and the trees that are in the way.
Okay.
And, when it rains, of course, the flooding, so I've been initiated with this sewer backup.
Okay.
I'm like, oh my goodness. So just want to see what's going on and what is on the agenda.
Sure. Okay. So your application for a new driveway, you sent into the planning department.
Yes, I left it here, wherever it goes, through channels, yes.
Okay. So what happens with that typically is they will receive those requests.
Okay.
And then they will send it to the traffic board when it's going through the planning commission process or the staff review process in order for us to weigh in on the curb cut. So unless that process has started, when's the last time you spoke with someone in planning, you know?
Well, a few weeks back,
Okay, a few
they
weeks
did
back.
come and do the sidewalk because the trees had busted up the pavement there.
Okay.
So they did come out a couple weeks ago and completed that.
So they did some work on the sidewalks.
They did.
But you have an application in to install a second driveway, you're
That's
saying?
correct.
Okay. So what we'll do is, it's not on our agenda, we haven't been sent it yet,
Okay.
but it's possible it will come to us at some point.
Okay.
What I'll do is, if you want to stick around, I can get you in touch with someone from planning. We can have them talk to you about the status of your application. There's monthly planning commission meetings.
Yes.
But we'll figure out exactly where things stand.
Okay.
And this wouldn't be the first place it would go to.
I
This wouldn't be the
understand.
first board.
When is your next meeting?
We have a board meeting every month, the
You have a
traffic
date
board.
set for next
Yes.
month?
It's the second Thursday of every month.
Okay.
And then planning commission also meets monthly as well. So
Okay.
what will likely happen is your application would be sent to the planning commission for review, and then if need be, it would come to us.
Okay, I understand. So I can wait patiently. I'll wait. and see.
Sure, yeah, and I don't know, if I see anyone coming in from planning around there, I can flag them down. And we
Okay.
can get you the latest information.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we can go through some of the old business here. Washington Street, no update there. Stewart Street, we took care of that at the last meeting, correct? With the 15-minute parking, correct? Yeah, that was covered as part of the State Street Police vehicles.
Oh, so that could have been item completed.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
The 15-minute zone?
Yeah, because that's been installed.
Yeah, it's been installed and we got the measurements, so it's all set.
Okay. All right. And nothing new on Robot City Crosswalk. Okay, so on Grand Boulevard, a couple different updates since the last meeting. We continued to install the parking paint pinned lines on the street. Had a call on that, just kind of asking what it was from a resident. I explained it. And then, this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, there was an accident on Crestmont and Grand Boulevard. 3-car accident. I've got the report at my office if anyone liked it, would like to see it. But, basically another accident in that area. So, I know Cindy Paddock is on vacation. She's coming back, I think, next week. But I know they were kind of looking into it. I've heard from a lot of different residents at that intersection and otherwise on Grand Boulevard. And I do think that Crestmont and Grand Boulevard is the intersection that we should move forward with a stop sign on the Grand Boulevard side. Not Matthews as was originally requested, but given the geometry of the intersection, I think the history of the accidents there, I think it does warrant it. And while the accident from a couple Sundays ago, it looked to be someone either stopping and going when they weren't supposed to yield to traffic, or not stopping at all. The combination of a lot of factors at the intersection leads me to think that there should be a stop sign there. And-
Before we do that,
yeah?
let's wait until Cindy comes back, because BMTS is studying putting in mini roundabouts. The mini ones, they're just a little, that you have to jog around on 2 or 3 intersections, Crestmont being one of them.
Yeah.
So let's wait until we get that report before we put a stop sign in.
Yeah, I don't see that moving anywhere based on the residents that live there. I don't think that's something that they are interested in seeing.
Yeah.
It was my understanding that we were going to look at that kind of separately as a long-term type of option.
Okay.
And I'm
Alright.
fine making the recommendation of a stop sign pending final BMTS review, because I think that there's a couple more data points, but simply the geometry and the safety of the intersection, as well as the not necessarily knee-jerk reactions by residents. It's in fact the opposite. I think they're completely understanding of what will make those intersections safer, and it's not about reducing speed, it's about actually there's conflicts that are there. So Dan, I may have some thoughts. I mean,
No,
you're
yeah.
a resident there too, so.
Yeah, well, I am a resident in that area, but one of the issues that was the height that came out of the accident, and as we were discussing earlier, to the point where people were declaring a head-on collision instead of a T-bone collision. And I think that got a lot of the residents in an uproar. As I said, I think that, as we discussed, I think that's what we should do, is probably wait, not wait for another month, but, for a final review by Cindy, to complete her review. She is on vacation this week, so she'll be back next week, and I'll meet with her immediately and see if the 4-way stop. My biggest concern, I just want to get this noted, is that if we put a 4-way stop in that's not justified, and we have a rear-end accident on Grand Boulevard, then are we being liable, as a city? And I understand also if we don't put a 4-way stop in, and we have, and that's justified, then we have an accident as a T-bone, then are we still liable? I mean, it's a 2-way street there. Which way is the most serious?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would be, certainly DPW, they're not going to install it tomorrow, so we have some time, and I think that would be right as well, to make sure that BMTS has the data in place, and Cindy would have had the information today if she wasn't on vacation, I'm sure.
She does have a copy of this report. I did forward it to her.
Okay. So, a couple different things on this. I would entertain a motion to install a 4-way stop at the intersection of Grand Boulevard and Crestmont. I would also ask that the stop sign be oversized, and there be stop ahead signs also placed on Grand Boulevard. And whether it's standard to do in all 4 ways of the intersection, I'm not sure, but that be incorporated as well.
I'm not sure on that, but I think that if we do, I think that you might have to put all 4 ways.
Okay. And then that can be, pending final BMTS report back to the traffic board.
Well, I don't think we should vote on it until we have that final report, because what if it changes, then we gotta come back and start all over. So I would just wait till she gets the report and then we'll make the motion and vote on it. I mean, there's no difference.
I think the caveat here is that I think that the report we probably already have, and waiting kind of like another 3 weeks, that's 3-4 weeks, that would be my concern. Just because of the level of interest of the residents that are there, and I know over the years I've kind of been the guy on the traffic board to quell a lot of the concerns as it relates to folks wanting to put up stop signs at various intersections. But I think this is somewhat of a different scenario. Especially given the accident just 2 weeks ago.
Well, you're basically.
You're
going
basically
back to
basing,
a stop sign
your
on
knee-jerk reaction, one accident, so we put up a four-way stop sign.
And there
I don't know.
was, my understanding, and I haven't read the report to be honest with you, but my understanding is somebody blew the stop sign. So, it wasn't speed, it wasn't, they just blew the stop sign, correct?
But if the car that they hit was also at a stop sign, the accident would have not happened. Right, it would have been stopped.
And if it was raining, they would have slowed down and you wouldn't have an accident.
Maybe all you need to do now is to make the stop signs that are there oversized. And put a stop ahead sign on Crestmont.
I mean, listen, if I recall, wasn't there, you can't put the stop sign in, it can't be used to, what was the reason you argued against it the last time we talked about
The
it?
stop sign can't be used for speed control.
Okay,
Right.
so what you're saying now is it's not being used for speed control, it's being used for safety.
That's
Is that
correct.
what you're saying now?
Based on the geometry of the intersection. Because
The geometry is the same geometry of every intersection.
the way that the approaches happen though, for example, Matthews and Crestmont, which all the residents wanted, I don't think there's any real issues there from an accident history standpoint or how traffic approaches that intersection. When we did the walk on Grand Boulevard, it was Crestmont and Grand that appeared to be most likely for a stop sign.
Yeah, the other intersection that needed a four-way stop, which already does have a four-way stop, is Howard and Grand Boulevard. And that still has accidents, even though it's a four-way with a flashing light stop. It's
Not,
Yeah.
so.
I think half the
Another-
problem is Green Boulevard's so stinking wide.
right.
Yeah.
I think part of the issue is that if you put the other two stop signs up and make it a four-way stop, that may not have stopped that accident.
Okay.
Somebody could have stopped, started to go because the other guy is supposed to stop, and he didn't, and he hit him. Same accident can happen at a four-way or a two-way.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really care if the stop sign's in, and I would vote for it, but the last time we were here, we argued that it shouldn't go in. So, we have one accident, now it's going in, so.
Well, I think that stop signs shouldn't be put in for speed control, and that's what they were looking for at Matthews and Grand Boulevard. But why don't we do this, because we have Conrad Taylor and Bernice are here. If we would anyone be up for a special meeting quickly next week as to not as to follow the right procedure with allow BMTS, so we won't vote on anything prior to them coming back with the final recommendation, and then we don't let any grass grow under this from the perspective of the residents who are there that are concerned about it and are looking for different updates. Does that work for
Yep.
everybody? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll plan on, maybe end of next week, doing just a special meeting. We do it sometime during the day and to make that, do a final decision based on the BMTS. Does that work?
Yep.
Okay. Eldridge Street, I think, again, there isn't any more information on this. I know Councilman Taylor's not here, but it didn't seem to be a intersection that needed a cross.
I mean, if you put a crosswalk in there, then you have to put the curb cut things in there as well, correct?
Handicap ramps in. I
And,
mean, eventually they'll be there, but if you want to put a crosswalk in, then you would have to put them in.
And the volume of people that cross there, I don't think there's probably two a day.
Yeah.
That many. I mean, it's just the people crossing there, and the incidents that occur there's no, we have nothing to report.
Okay. I'll email Councilman Taylor on this. We'd hold until the next meeting, but we should be able to put that on the agenda. Morris,
You want it held, or
We can hold until the October meeting, and I'll talk to Councilman Taylor in the interim. Because it was kind of his item, I don't want to
Uh-huh.
throw it to the side when he's not here. Morrison Park.
That's a Cindy thing that she was doing a study on.
Yep.
It's in study.
It's in study right now.
The signs are all up, the lights in flash,
Mhm.
so, yep.
I've gotten one, I think, call on it, maybe one call and one note asking it to not be taken out. That's all the communication I've heard on. I don't think we've had any accidents or incidents there. Okay. So we'll continue to study that. So November will be when it's.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, Schubert and Beethoven Street.
I thought that's where the traffic light is, and I thought we were gonna leave the traffic light there. I thought that's the last thing that we proposed.
Yeah, I think there was some sort of confusion, I think, on that. And is everyone kind of on the same page now with Schubert and Beethoven? That it was part of a signal study back a while ago, and a couple years ago we looked at its removal and decided that it should probably still be in. I thought that was kind of the.
That one email, mine was taken out, but I mean, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, but I thought we were gonna put the sign up and take it out.
We were talking
And
about.
then you sent another email to disregard that?
Yeah, nothing ever was passed by the traffic board to do a study on that.
You sure?
You
Yeah,
sure?
we-
I thought we said we were gonna study
I thought we
it.
did too,
And
but
we'd see what
I could be
the,
wrong.
Bernice and Chief and I all thought,
Yeah.
Because we
So-
talked about trimming the trees
Yep,
back.
trimming the trees
so we
back
could see
and-
the stop
Yeah.
sign. But, I mean.
But I
guess-
think we looked into the minutes, and it was never, I think it may have been talked about, maybe, hey, we'll revisit it at the next meeting, but
okay,
I think now that we're at the next meeting, so what ended up happening was DPW did go forward, and, within a day, we were flooded with various types of communication on the issue. And so, if in the future that, that signal becomes inoperable or has to be taken down, I think it is another discussion. I think, winning that $200,000 plus bill. But at this point, I don't see, I think we're asking for a lot of headaches on that, and it doesn't seem to be really well received compared to, Morrison and Park, where we've gotten 2 complaints compared to many more for Schubert and Beethoven. I know. Does that make sense, everybody?
sure, whatever.
Okay. All right, so we'll mark the item as complete. All right, Vessel Avenue school bus stops. We met with the principal of MacArthur, and they had a slightly amended plan for the school bus zone. And Bill, you guys were there?
Yeah, the 2 things are, first of all, the timing. Instead of 1 p.m., we're gonna go to 8 a.m. And the other thing is, what's the other thing? Oh,
Just a question on that, Dan. Why are we going to 8 a.m. and are the buses dropping off there as well?
no,
So why are we not?
because
allowing-
with so many parks there during the day, to try to get them out of there when the buses come.
The same people give them tickets.
In the morning, what happens, in the morning, people drop their kids off sporadically.
Mhm.
Okay, so you can pull up to let your kids out and leave.
Okay.
But,
And they're all dropped off by 8.
they're all gone, yeah,
Yeah.
by 8 o'clock, they're all gone to school.
So that's a drop-off zone in the morning. And then if there's an event at the school after
Mhm.
3 p.m., then.
Okay.
And if it's early dismissal, that's the other thing. If it's early
Oh, right,
dismissal,
okay.
then it's covered. That's what the other thing was.
But we'll still be in contact with them. We're gonna send over a photo of the sign.
Just so you know, so it's not in effect yet?
No,
It's not.
Okay.
no, what we're waiting for
Just tell
now.
Dave, there's cars parked there.
Yeah.
Every day I go by there.
Yep.
There's cars parked.
The school itself, I just keep losing my voice up, I don't know why. The school itself, what they're gonna do is, they're gonna set up a system notifying all the parents that their kids are to be picked up at the roundabout down by the
Okay.
the veterans have, but they have to be registered to do it, so the kids don't go through our cars.
Right.
And they're also going to be made aware of the no parking zone at the same time.
Okay.
So
Shall
we-
we vote or just keep it?
I think we just have to vote to amend the no stopping bus zone from 1 PM start time to an 8 AM start time.
Yeah, and the only other thing we're waiting for is the school to tell us when they're ready to start the program.
Yeah,
And we haven't heard back from them yet.
so we have a motion to
Motion.
amend it to 8 AM.
Motion.
Ray, Bill, all in favor? The State Street crosswalk, I mean,
We had a meeting with BMTS, Chris Marion, Barton LaJudas, because they're the construction review, Scott from McFarland Johnson, who did the design, and the DOT. And we came to the conclusion that where it is on the plans is where it's supposed to be.
mhm.
You can't put one at Stewart Street and have it cross, because then you end up in a curb cut for the police department, which is illegal. You can't do that. You can't have
Mhm.
people walk into a driveway. So the concern about people being in the median and having an emergency fire call and having to move out into the median to let the fire truck go through. I talked to the fire chief, and he said we would never hit anybody, and we would either make them go back or make them come across before we went.
Mhm.
So that issue is a non-issue.
Mhm.
So where it is now is where it needs to be, and people will just have to be taught that that's where you're gonna cross.
The other part of it too is that in the parking lot of the arena, they have there's no clear pedestrian when you leave the box office. It's just rows of cars. And so unless you kind of knew where the crosswalk was, there's nothing in their parking lot that is any type of aisle or sidewalk. It's all just concrete that they park on,
Right.
which I'm sure was not in the original design of the arena to be like that. So, all right, appreciate you looking into it. And
So that's.
so they sort of, they understand it, I mean, they have
Yep.
everyone on board. Okay.
Yep, that can be removed.
Item C. Aller Street and Carroll Street parking.
Okay, this is at the incubator, and what we just went down and reviewed it, and what we're able to do is come up with about another 12 to 14 spaces. We had to put a couple of crosswalks in that area as well, so we have to meet with Dan Merkel to find out where they're gonna go.
Okay.
It might affect 1 or 2 spaces, but as soon as we get that set up, we'll have exact numbers, but we're pretty much accurate is what we have, we think,
Okay.
so.
And this would be on the, basically next to the incubator.
Right next to the incubator, yeah.
There's a fire hydrant in the middle of that
Yep.
too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And we took that into consideration,
All right.
so.
So we can probably mark this item as complete.
Right.
We've already voted on it.
Oh,
And,
it's been voted on, okay.
yep, we'll work with Dan to get everything installed and painted in, as well as a kiosk at that location as well.
There's one across the street, right at the end
Yeah.
of Centenary. There's one there,
Yeah.
if you want to put one on the other.
Take the one from Doubletree.
Yeah,
Doubletree or Centenary itself, that one I think, and we can run and see what the least used kiosk
Okay.
is, but I think it's near, it's either the Centenary one, I see the Doubletree time and again, but the most used is on Washington Street across from Twin River. Okay. Carroll Street.
Yeah, Carroll Street, this is on the west side of the street. I didn't write it up yet, but myself and the sergeant went down yesterday and measured it out. And we can pick up about another 4 or 5 spaces there with a good line of sight,
Mhm.
good safety zone. There's 2 driveways that would have been affected if they were active driveways, but they're not active driveways anymore. One's fenced off, the other's fenced in. And so with that being said, that we can now have a parking zone from 30 feet south of Court Street to 165 feet. And it'll give us, like I said, about another four or five cars
Okay.
down there,
So
so.
this is on the opposite side from the old fire station?
Yes.
basically. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Now get it written up to show that.
Do we have a motion to
Motion.
approve the adding of on-street parking on Carroll Street? Ray makes a motion. Chief seconds, all in favor?
Sure, one second.
Thank you. Those 4 or 5 spots, they make a difference. Okay, a couple of new things. Lorraine Avenue to be designated as a school zone. That's near Woodrow Wilson.
Right, okay, to be designated as a school zone, just, the school has to front the property,
Okay,
okay? And in this case, it does not. It runs parallel to the school, but it's residential on both sides of the street, so we can't do it,
okay,
so.
all right. And that's in the New York State traffic law?
MUTCD book, yeah.
MUTCD, okay. Because I think the purpose of this was just for those school speed limit signs, but
Mhm.
if it's not in front of the
Yep.
school, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, if you just want to mark that, and we can go ahead and complete. Shenango and Ogden. This was the crossing that traffic was looking at?
Oh, yes, Shenango and Ogden, what we did is, we moved the curb cut was done last year, but the crosswalk was never moved, it was still on the south side of the intersection. So all we did is, manipulated the intersection, that the crosswalk is now gonna be on the north side of the intersection. And, we took out one parking space in front of the business on the west side of the business, of the street. So they lost one parking space because of the.
Barber shop,
the-
right?
No, it's a convenience store.
Okay, yes,
Convenience
yes,
store, yeah.
yes.
But prior to that, they would have lost one anyhow, because the crosswalk, when it was on the south side of the intersection, was adjacent, the crosswalk was adjacent to the vehicle. You had to have a 10-foot space on each side of the crosswalk, and it wasn't there.
Okay,
But now it's going to be there, so.
okay. And this is in front of the convenience store?
In front of the convenience
Okay.
store, yeah.
It has been incorrect for a while, but okay.
Mhm.
All right, that makes sense.
Mhm.
So that, we don't need to take any action on, correct?
We wrote it up, we did write it up to to move the parking around the no parking zone, to make it fit in there.
So these are just amendments to the existing no parking zone to fit the requirements? Okay. So it's off by 10 feet essentially?
Basically, yes.
Okay. All right, the lines of handicap grid replaced on the south side of the intersection instead of the north side of the intersection, okay. And if you guys want to take a look at it, it's basically just moving it 10 feet.
Yeah, we talked about
Okay.
that. So.
All right, do we have a
I'll make
motion
a
to
motion.
approve the change?
Make a motion.
All right. Ray, Bill, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You don't see it.
Do you have anything? Anyone
Nope.
else have anything? All right. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.